My name is Pete Rosa. I'm from Rockford, Illinois, and I'm a member of the Rockford Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Good afternoon. My name is Sandeen. I'm a member here at the Seventh-day Adventist Church here in Rockford. I am currently the school board chairman at the Alpine Christian School here.
Our involvement with the mission here in the United States, because that's what it is the missions fields come here. Our involvement began one Sabbath. Well, to be honest, it began Sabbaths before that. We began to notice new people attending. Seventh-day Adventists, but people who we weren't used to having here. I very quickly learned of a group of people who are called the Corinne. On paper, it was Karen, and that was a big change. We heard that Elder Delmer Austin was coming from the conference to meet with the group because they had some business to take care of, and we wanted to become a little more educated on who they were and what the conference was doing with them. One Sabbath afternoon, we attended the meeting, and as we were kind of in the hallway figuring out our place with the whole group, we noticed a woman who looked lost. So I walked up and I introduced myself and began to speak with her, and it was Terry Saley. And Terry had explained that she had heard there was a group of refugees here, but she didn't know who to talk to, and it was some people would call it fortuitous, some people would call it a miracle, but I think it was God putting people together to work for the better of this organization. Well, how long was it? We already, I guess Paul was already attending.
Yeah, I remember that weekend, Pete. That was incredible. I wasn't here that Sabbath for whatever reason, and my phone around 3, 4 in the afternoon just starts getting the text messages and phone calls telling me about Terry Saley was here, and the story that you just explained, I heard through several different members about Aaron. There's just a miracle happening.
And she didn't even know. Terry didn't know there was a meeting that afternoon.
Right.
She just blindly came down.
Yeah.
She had no clue that Delmer was going to be there, Elder Austin was going to be there. She had no clue that there was going to be a meeting for the Corinne. She was just coming by hoping to meet somebody, and the church wasn't even scheduled to be open.
Right. And it was just like I said, that it was really exciting. Like, I was not here. Phone calls were coming, the text messages were coming and saying, Aaron, there's just a regular miracle happening right here in Rockford. Pete called me, my aunt called me, and I'm not even sure exactly why my phone was ringing, except for the fact that I'm on the school board. And at that point, I wasn't the school board chairman. I was just on the school board. And they're like, you know what? We need to get these kids in our school. The place is packed with these Corinne children. And my daughter is the same age as several of the other children that go. My daughter's going into 4th grade. And there's quite a population at that age group. So one thing I thought, Pete, that was really exciting was I felt like the adults were late to the ball game. The children were all friends. They all knew each other. They were like story time and wanting to sit with each other in the pews. And the adults were like, what's happening here? I don't know anybody. We were behind the curve. So that was really exciting. Then Pete kind of led the charge with the adults coming through together.
Well, what we did. We already had somebody who was attending our church that we knew well. Her name is Wapau, and her daughter and her other children were already attending the school. So speaking with Wapau, I was able to meet her cousin, Chloe, and Chloe and myself went to the different houses in the community, the different families, to sit down and speak with them and tell them about the school, and to let them know that they may have a lot of questions, they may have a lot of fears or whether it's the cost of the school, the logistics, and how to get there. But there was one message we wanted to convey to everybody. Bring your kids to our school, and everything will be okay. Bring them here. We'll figure it out. I think that was the message, wasn't it?
It was.
We had no idea how we were getting the money.
And we're still going through that, right? We still, it hasn't been until recently, just to jump ahead a year or so, is the come in, we'll figure it out. But the Seventh-day Adventist message, I've always felt like, is to reach all corners of the earth. Part of being a Seventh-day Adventist is the education piece. It's so important for us in our culture. And next thing you know, God brings this miracle of these children right to our front door, right in our face. Like, hey, Aaron, what are we going to do? What is going to be your role in this situation that the Lord just put right to us? And it's been an absolute blessing. We still struggle with how are we going to do finances? How are we going to get a ride? Parents are volunteering, giving the children rides to school, rides home. We had a summer school program this year. This is just amazing, the summer school, that these kids are begging us, hey, can you please pick me up, Mr. Sandeen? Mr. Sandeen, can you pick me up? We have summer school all day long. And the Korean, and we have some other refugee population as well, boom, all of them came. And we couldn't keep them from here. So it's been an absolute blessing that the Lord has put at our door. I'm always excited to share the blessing that God gave us. I feel very special that God gave us this particular blessing. It's very, very exciting for me.
It was funny because when we first went into homes, quite a few families were excited about the idea, and when it came time for registration, it wasn't quite the showing I had anticipated. I think we were probably about half, I think, of the parents who had said their kids were going to come, but it was still, I mean, our school grew by about 30%. I mean, it was amazing. It blew our minds, and we were still trying to figure out how we were going to pay for it. I mean, but we had faith. We prayed about it, and we made it through the year, and we made it through the year. I think we made it through the year by the grace of God. Was that a true statement?
Yes.
How did we pay for it? I will tell you that this church has an overwhelming burden to take care of this school. This church, this is their mission. We have people in our church that have sacrificed. We have people, it doesn't matter if they're young, middle of their life with a family, or in retirement on a fixed income. They were sacrificing to give time, finances, whatever they could. And it's kind of funny because I think as other churches began to see what was going on, it wasn't very long before we had another church in the area wanting to help. We have refugees from Rwanda. They're refugees in Rwanda. They're because of the civil war in Congo. So they're Congolese. And 3 of the children wanted to go to Seventh Adventist High School. They wanted to go to the academy in Wisconsin. So I called up. We drove up and spoke with the Wisconsin Academy, and they were fantastic. I mean, they sat down and put together a plan I didn't think could exist on how we could get them into the school. And I got to stop for a second, because when you meet the 3 kids, Faustine, Eric, and Angel, I mean, they are just, I don't know how to describe it. Faustine is one of those, even when he couldn't speak English, he'd walk up and he would say, hey. And the smile was so contagious. I mean, to this day, when I see Faustine, I just want to run up and give him a big hug. But other churches began to engage us on the mission and getting them there, and it just began to grow, if that makes sense. We began to realize that it wasn't just us locally that wanted to be involved in this. It wasn't something that we really had to sell. I think it was already with the Holy Spirit. We just simply had to introduce the opportunity, and people would engage. The life of a refugee is predicated on a lot of different factors, but one of those is also the community, the social community that's available to them. In Rockford, we have about 3 to 5 years worth of refugees coming from Thailand. They're a little bit more socially developed. They've learned English, and as somebody new comes over, whether they speak, Ska or Po-Korean, and they don't speak English, there are resources available. That now, if you were to go to somebody from Rwanda, the community is not as developed, so there's a lot more challenges. I don't think that you could say one person is the same as the next, because the needs are so different. The way to find out is simply to go, have lunch, have dinner in their home or yours, and find out what's going on. It's the only way it's going to happen. A couple weeks ago, we drove around town, and we're trying to figure out how all the different programs work with the state and with the different resources and agencies that deal with the refugees. And it was an interesting afternoon, because I don't speak Kenya Rwandan. I mean, I can pretend like I can pronounce the words, but it's not fantastic. And so I'm trying to gauge through a translator what she's saying, what one of the ladies I was with was saying, and also the resources, and whether or not this is the right place we need to be. And that might be a little bit easier if the family that's comes here and there's somebody in the community that knows the culture, knows the language. And when I say somebody in the community, I'm just talking about a layperson and can easily tell you, okay, they need this, they're upset about this. In one instance, we have a family who came over, and the day the plane was ready to go, their father was out of the camp looking for work. So the mother and her 5 children came to the United States, minus the father. It's been about a year now, and they're still waiting for him. And I got to tell you, I didn't know the situation until after 3 months, because I just couldn't get to that part of the conversation. And because there was nobody else that could really speak the language, it took a while. I didn't know to ask the question. And so until you spend the personal time getting to know them, teaching them how to drive, going with them to purchase a car so you can read the contract, taking them, showing them the right grocery store, that's really the only way to really understand what the needs or the challenges a refugee has in this country.
Look like you have something to say, so go ahead and say, and then I have a question for you.
All right, yes. I wanted to, the question was something about how do they, refugees, maybe live now, or how are they cooperating or working into our culture a little bit. And 4 of my friends from the Corinne group just received their citizenship last week. So I took them to go do that, right? And sometimes in our school board meetings, we talk about how are we going to get people to pay, right? Everyone should maybe contribute something. And one of the members said, well, if somebody didn't go out for pizza once or twice a month, maybe they could, that would help them, right? And this was a new member, didn't quite understand the culture, and it just showed me how different the cultures are. So we go get...
Because they're not going out for pizza.
Yeah, right. They're not going out for pizza, and that's what I'm going to get to, is we take them to their citizenship, the swearing in is beautiful, and I tell them, I'm going to take you out to eat for, recognition for your citizenship to celebrate. Okay, the citizenship was in Chicago. We're like an hour and a half drive. An hour into the drive, they're trying to communicate to me like, so we don't have any food. How can we go out to eat? They think, these are my friends, mind you. These aren't just strangers in the church. I know them. I communicate with them. They think going out to eat, or they thought going out to eat meant take food, go to the park, and sit and eat. They didn't understand that it meant going to a restaurant. They had never been to a restaurant. And they've been here how many years, Pete? 3 to 5 years. They have never been into a restaurant. They didn't understand how to order water or food at all. And it was interesting to notice how culturally different we are and how giddy they were. I mean, they're just laughing like, seriously, these people are bringing us food and picking out water? So I just wanted to be able to share that with you of how different the cultures are, where we think it's something simple and it's not. We have our school board, or we have our registration day, and Pete comes in with however many, what are we, like 13 refugees on that first day, refugee students, and the school board members our eyes are all getting bigger. What's exactly happening? Because we really didn't fully understand what was going to happen. We didn't know if we were going to get 2 students or 20. We didn't fully understand. So after the meeting, everybody goes home. We're kind of happy, but then again, starting to set in of reality of the additional costs of 13 additional students. That's like a 1/3 hike in student population. So immediately we try to come into a gear of what are we going to do? Okay, we have the students. How do we do this? So we changed up our strategies of normally we had a worthy student fund, something like this. People would put in a little bit, but we actually had to change up our strategy at the school board level and the church level, involving the pastor and doing home visits, going up front a little bit more, really engaging the population with, our church is blessed with photographers. We have several professional photographers here at our church, and we take, a lot of pictures of what's going on to really inform the church what is happening. This isn't a burden on our church. This is a blessing on our church. And to change that, including my thoughts, okay, including mine, like, very difficult to change that around to say, no, this isn't a burden. This isn't extra cost. It's extra blessings to us. And that's what we're still fighting with, and we're still trying to overcome that. And this year, we're trying to engage additional churches versus just church members to show that, hello, Adventist Church in Chicago, who doesn't have a school, look, the mission fields that we're all supporting have brought the mission right here in our front door. And aren't we happy that we don't have to go to Asia to go to the mission field when it's sitting right here in our front door? And we're really embracing that. And it's like I can't say it enough, it is an absolute blessing to have this school and to have these children at our school. They're friendly children. They're my kids' best friends, you know, and I love it.
What Aaron had said, right now, in addition to working, you know, we've redone a lot of our processes on how we do business to run the school, specifically because of our commitment to the refugee population. And it's grown outside of the church and the school walls as well. They're actively working with other churches now, other people within the Seventh-day Adventist Church to raise money for the school. Additionally, we're out into the community now too. We're setting up opportunities to raise money through selling food, speaking with businesses that can make donations, anything to help out with the refugees. Aaron hit on something that we said right away. It is often very easy, because everything's so good here in the United States, to lose sight of the challenges of the rest of the world. So when the printer doesn't work right, it's so frustrating, and this is the mission, to raise money for a printer. And all of a sudden, it was like a mission spotlight in our church. And people often say that the Krin needed our help, but I wholeheartedly believe we needed them a lot more than they needed us. They are transforming our church and the people within it in ways we cannot even begin to realize. They are introducing us to the opportunity to live a true Christ-like life, something we never even realized. We read it on paper. We thought we knew what it was. I really thought I knew what it was. And I really had no idea. And that's the real blessing. I'm the one that's benefiting. I can say that every day of the week. You know, growing up, my dad took me to, you know, we were in nursing homes every opportunity. We were, you know, in gathering. And these were things I remember when I was so excited. And as you get older, and whether it's you become complacent or stagnant, you do tend to lose a little bit of the life and the flavor. It happens. And this is the beauty of doing mission work. It takes you out of your local culture, out of that local comfort zone, and gives you that shock. And it allows you to kind of maybe tear away some of the armor that's been put up, and the Holy Spirit to come into your heart. Well, if you don't leave the community, those opportunities aren't always there. And that is part of our problem a lot of times, is that we do become stagnant, and the church becomes self-supportive in its mission. Our whole mission field is ourselves. And we go out and we do pass pamphlets out in the community. We do try to get out, but at large and whole, we miss the bigger picture. Having the mission field come to Rockford has changed that, and like I said, in ways we never even realized was possible. I always joke, and I'll say the joke I always make was, it was like God looked at us and said, okay, if we can't get you out the door to go do something, I'll just put them in the church, and you can do it. I don't know how else to make it easier for you. And I always thought that was pretty amazing.
I've been on the school board here at Alpine for about 3 years. And this is before I was the school board chairman. I was a committee member, and I'm on the finance committee. And I'm really good friends with our treasurer. Okay, my wife's the assistant treasurer. And got a good relationship with the principal. And I work nights, so I get a lot of calls at night, right? When people their anxieties are high, they feel safe calling me because I'm awake all night long. And I call the treasurer after a finance committee meeting, and I said to her, I think we're going to close. And she's like, you might be right. She's like, how are we going to, it's just a matter of how we're going to close, is what she said to me. It's a matter of, is this just run it to the wall and then Monday morning we have a sign, not open? Or do we start preparing people now that we have enough funding that's probably going to last us about 2 months? So I was like panic mode, big time, because I finally had enough guts to call the treasurer and say what I really thought. And we had a wonderful school board chairman, Dr. Mayberry, who was the superintendent of schools of Illinois. And so I call him. He says, you know what, Aaron, we need to go to lunch tomorrow. So we go to lunch and we have prayer and we talk about it. And he says, you know what, we're just going to get through it. Let's go up front on Sabbath. Let's talk about it. Let's reconstitute what we're going to do here. Let's take one more surge to talk to our congregation and the people that we know. And I said, okay. I mean, I really thought I was just going through the motions, and I was. I just thought it was kind of overwhelming, a line that wasn't getting crossed. And sure enough, we decided we were going to have a finance committee meeting every single week from that point forward, just to see where we would go. And we decided that we're going to take it right to the wall. If we have to stay open until Friday and we have to close, then that's what we're going to do. But we're going to take it right to the wall every single week. We're not going to put the alerts out that we're closing. We're going to put the alerts out that everything's going well. We love it. God's blessing us. And we're going to go talk to people about the positive things that are happening in our school. And every week, and I don't even know who were the people donating money, right? Every week, 1,000, 5,000, 2,000, 4,000, 7,000 commitments coming in from our congregation. And it was just mind-blowing, stunning to me that we made it to the point where we were like, whoa, we don't have to have a finance committee meeting next week. And our treasurer is like, wow. We would make decisions in our school board, just to let you know, we'd make decisions in our school board to say, we are going to pay for the school books, so write a check. We'd have a finance committee the next week. We're like, why didn't you write the check? We don't have any money. So we were borrowing from Peter to pay Paul kind of thing to get us through last year. And towards the end of the year, we had momentum. And, through the grace of God, we finished with money in the bank, which is, it's easy to understand God's blessings when you know that the hill is so steep that you're not climbing it, period. And so these challenges that we have really helped me grow my faith. And now this year, I'm the school board chairman, and we have those same challenges, and they're greater with the Affordable Care Act and other things that impact our school. The costs have gone up. If you can see this room, we've remodeled this room. Smart boards are on order. And I could tell you, we're going to be struggling this year. I mean, that is the fact of our life. But it is helping our school board members build trust in each other, to pray with each other, to call each other, lean on each other, and ultimately leaning on God and saying, hey, God, you brought us to the mission field, so it's time for you to come through with us financially if that's the plan that you have for us. So when I say, I don't take it lightly to say that this is a blessing to me and to our church. I just don't know if our church completely, fully grasps it yet, but it's a story to tell on our church too. The refugee students from the Korean population that come here, some of their parents, most of their parents do not know English. They're trying to learn English. They have, the Korean congregation has a church service downstairs. The leadership of that church is whose children are here. It's so strange. If someone was in your church and said, we don't know if the head elder can afford to have their kids come here. They just can't afford it. They have 3 children, and dad doesn't have the skills. Dad grew up in a refugee camp. And he's downstairs leading their congregation. He does not know English. Their children are in our school, best friends with my kids. It's stunning for us to be able to explain that just to our congregation, to explain it to our friends. He does not want his children in a secular school. He doesn't want the risk. I don't believe he fully understands the risk that's out in the secular school. I'm certain he doesn't understand the risk, especially here in Rockford. It's an astounding risk with children whose mom and dad don't know what's going on. And in my mind, they must be here. They have to be here before my kids are here. Because I can understand the culture. I can help protect my little guys. But can their dad help protect them? And I don't think they can. I don't think their understanding was completely going on. So for me, this is imperative that they're here.